Hi, I'm Steve Barcelo. I run the Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum. If you would have asked me a few years back, what do you expect to be doing in your twilight years, semi-retirement, I never would have guessed I'd be running a museum, let alone a Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum. But let me tell you kind of how it started. I've always had an interest in the paranormal, uh, watching things on TV, the cryptics world, Bigfoot, in search of sort of things. But I've lived on Long Island, New York, so lots of history, lots of paranormal stuff to do. Not so much on the Bigfoot end or anything like that. We're excited to see squirrels. I mean, it's kind of overbuilt and stuff. But anyway, got a chance. I was working for the New York Daily News to do a documentary on Bigfoot up in Whitehall, New York, and it was my first real experience talking to people that actually went out Bigfooting and saw things and stories. And it was the story about a Bigfoot spotted on Bear Road back in the 70s. I talked to Paul Bartholomew. He wrote a book. He's a real nice guy. Helped me out quite a bit. And the little documentary and story we put in the paper and on the internet did very well. It was a very successful little piece. So it kind of really sparked my interest. And I got into it more and more. But times move on. You have to do other things. You have to have a real job, do real stories. Well, eventually it gets to the point where I'm leaving Long Island. The newspaper business is dying. It's time to just, move on, retire. So somehow I found Littleton, North Carolina. I was not looking for a haunted house. I was not looking for, had no clue that there were Bigfoot sightings in the area or anything like that. Ended up buying this house, ended up having an underground stream in the basement, a hidden room on the second floor. I hired these contractors to work in the house, and they're having activity. Paranormal things are happening. Seeing shadow people, voices. Their tools are moving. Clay marbles keep on appearing. Places where they would be working, turn around, and they pick the marble up, put it up in a dish on a shelf or something. Go back, and there'd be another marble there. Just repetitive things. Just things kept on happening to them. Some of the guys were walking off the job, refused to come back. Now, of course, I have a background in this, enjoyed this. So eventually I kind of took advantage of it, started doing ghost walks and tours and telling people about it. Basically, because I guess I put my foot out and told people I have an interest in these sort of things. Next thing you know, they started telling me some of their stories, paranormal things, things at Lakeland Theater, persons ordinary. Next thing I know, the Bigfoot sightings start coming in. Hearing stories about how people are seeing things throughout the area, even referring to them as Wolfman. And I was kind of confused by that. But once you talk to these folks, they're talking about a large, bipedal, upright, hairy creature, Bigfootish. So, but they go back to the Lon Chaney movies and things they saw as youngsters. Uh, I, One of the ones that really kind of put me on the map with the things in Littleton was a woman, Tiffany Merrill, had a sighting the block behind us, and that was in 2016. 5 o'clock in the morning, she's talking to her mother about taking her daughter to kindergarten, who's going to drive her, obviously trying to get mom to do it. And in the process of doing this, she's looking out the back window of her house, which looks into the woods behind, and sees this large, hairy creature quickly moving through the forest behind her house. She freaks out. Her mother says, "What's the matter?" Thinking it's an intruder. She explains what she's seen, and her mom says, "Call Steve. He knows about these things." So she didn't know me from Adam, so her mom calls me. This is 5 in the morning, so I play phone tag. By the time I get over there, the woman's pacing back and forth in the front yard, horrified. So we reenact it. I go back out there. Once she goes in the house and sees me standing in the backyard, she realizes how huge this thing was in comparison to me, and she's even all the more frightened. Basically, what happens, she gets so concerned, she pulls her daughter out of school, moves away by the second week. But this was the first story that got published and started bringing attention in. And this brought more and more people coming forward to tell us their stories. Since then, we've had multiple sightings up and down Moore Street. One of the more recent ones is Jesse Walker, who's actually here today. He'll be signing pictures at his table. Jesse had a sighting roughly 2.5 years ago behind the house he was staying in on Moore Street. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He went to go put some garbage in the backyard, and in the process of going back there, he sees this creature no more than 45 feet from him in the woods. He freaks out, literally runs back to the car. His lady friend is asking him, "What's the matter?" He's so rattled, and she takes him to my house, and I hear my dogs barking. I go out front, and there's Jesse all upset. So I go, "What is the matter?" And he goes, "I saw Bigfoot." And I bring him in, and I interview him. He cries through the interview. And I'll play some of these things in here so you can see them. All right, so we're taping you now. Tell us what you saw.
I know I saw Bigfoot.
And that was just no more than, what, 20 minutes ago?
That's right.
And that's off Moore Street?
Right.
The stretch of woods behind the house that you're staying in?
That's right.
So what did it look like? Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, he was black. He was all bent over. He had big. His feet was real big.
Did it scare you?
Yeah. Yeah.
How tall would you say he was?
He was real tall. He had big hands.
Now, being interested in both the paranormal and the cryptozoology, the Bigfooting end, and of course ufology too, I just figured, you know, if it's raining Bigfoots, let's take advantage of it. So we started going out and doing more exploring, going to Medoc Mountain. My first sighting I've ever had was with my daughter Holly, and we did a hike at Medoc Mountain down on Bluff Loop Trail. And in the distance, I saw this thing rocking back and forth. It was like a silhouette behind a tree kind of watching us. I got a couple of pictures of it, but the camera is on autofocus. So it just kind of ranged in. It didn't know exactly what I'm trying to take a picture of on the trees. So I dropped the camera, go to manual focus, pick the camera back up, and at this point, the thing is gone. So it just disappeared that quickly. So I was showing my daughter, we continued down the trail. We get down a little ways, and there we hear something on the other side of the trail shaking the bushes. It makes this sort of sound, this growl. So we just look at each other like, what the heck is that? And just like, don't make noise, just keep walking, don't run. We continue down the trail. We get a few hundred feet down. Now we're talking, going, what the heck could that have been? So this is Bluff Loop, so hence it's a loop, and you have to come back from whence you came. We go down there, now we're talking, we're looking at the map, and we're going like, well, we don't want to get off trail. God forbid it's a bear, we get attacked or something. Let's head back. Now we're 20 minutes away from this thing. Let's head back up the trail, and let's see if we can avoid this. We're going to avoid sticks and leaves on the trail. As we head back up the trail, we don't get that much farther up, and we find this huge skid mark print. Something crossed the trail. It wasn't there when we came down. We would have noticed this. We took photos of it. Of course, I didn't have any equipment to cast the print. So, I mean, I didn't even mention to my daughter at the time, but it kind of freaked me out. It's like something just followed us down the trail, something that big. I mean, that's horrifying. So we continue back up the trail, and now there's a log in the trail. Something's placed a log there, and my daughter rolls it over to show it's freshly placed and it's not damp underneath. So it was placed or thrown there. So we continue to move on. We get past the area where we heard the noise, nothing. Get back up where I had the silhouette in the woods, and I see nothing there. We finally get back to the parking lot, and there I literally just hydrate, and I ask my daughter, do you want to go back and cast that print? And she says, heck no. So at that point, we just left. We headed on back. I wish I could have cast that print. I don't think I would have had enough material to cast it. At the time, I wasn't really familiar with casting prints. I would have had a small amount. Now I carry large amounts just in case we have multiple prints and stuff. It's a learning process. One of the best captures I've gotten out here looking at Medoc Mountain State Park was back off behind the campsites, behind campsites 18, 19, and 20. You got campsite loop that comes and loops back around. It used to be part of Bluff Loop. They've changed the names of some of the trails. We were out there, actually we had one of the gentlemen that was out there going to be interviewed. He was in campsite, I believe it was 16, and he had 3 Bigfoots come into his campsite, and he was horrified. So we were back out with him to have him tell the story, and he was being interviewed by a member of the media. So we were out here camping for 3 days. So on the 3rd day, when one of the gentlemen was being interviewed by a local media, at this point I've heard the story so many times, I went back up the loop. They were down in a low area, and the night before we were hearing movement. We were getting something there. So I had a parabolic dish, and I had a flare scope. This is an AGM, but I had my flare scope with me at the time, and I could hear movement. And I could hear the folks down there talking a little bit, but up here I can hear something clearly moving through the forest, and it sounds like it's on 2 legs. So I'm listening, so I turn the scope on and I'm looking, and every once in a while I can see heat, just streaks of heat between the trees. Something's hot and it's moving along. And every once in a while between the trees I can see this thing is upright. It's humanoid. It's big. This thing's like 8.5 feet tall easy. And eventually it gets between it's not between the trees, and I can get a nice clear shot, and I get one really good shot of this thing. But I have a bunch where you can see it almost, at one point it almost looks like it's looking at me around behind a tree. but it continues to go past. If it knew I was there, it obviously didn't care. It was more interested in all the noise and commotion with all the headlamps on down below. And I watch this thing go up across and then go up over the hill and disappear. At this point, I'm trying to reach out to the folks below, and I'm trying to text them, and of course the phones don't work here. So I have to go turn on my headlamp, go all the way back down. I show them what I got. We come back up, and we're all standing around listening and looking. And after a while, all of a sudden, something large comes back over the hill, and it crashes down through the trees. It could possibly be the top of a tree snapped off at that point, but it seems kind of suspicious after seeing this thing. I'm going to put that image in here. I've been lucky to get a few really good things out there. We've had tons of personal experiences. We've gotten a lot of different audio sounds. That's why I figured for me to come talk about my experiences, it makes sense to come out here, camp out for a few nights, and talk to you from here. And who knows, maybe I'll pick up something while I'm here. Up in here is where I got that Bigfoot moving across on top. It would be up just above just the ledge up there. But you could see the whole creature, and it walked across, and I think I was moving down with it. So basically, I'm not sure exactly where I got it, but somewhere up in here, and that would have using a thermal camera. Now, like I said, I've been doing this sort of stuff for a while. One of the things I caught on the paranormal end was the ghost cat at the Shanley Hotel, upstate New York. I was there to just do a documentary on a haunted hotel, and in the process of being there, I set up equipment. You have basically a rough timeline of what you want to do. You got to, all these stories obviously you have to have a beginning, middle, and end. And the middle is very fluid. You're not sure what you're going to get. Now here I'm there to investigate too, but primarily I'm there to interview and get stories from the owner and the people there and a few people he could have come and be interviewed for me. But it turns out the best thing I got, a month later, I'm going through all the B-roll and basically the footage I had for the DVR systems. I had like 18 hours, there's like 16 cameras there. So I had to go through all these little screens, and thank God, not too far in, watching the stuff at half speed, I see this thing go across the hallway. Goes from one room into another room. Going, what the heck is that? It looks like an animal. And it's just like a ghostly image, just the back of a cat. So after getting this thing, I send the video short to Sal, the owner, and I said, I got something strange up on the third floor by Claire's room. And Claire's the woman that supposedly was murdered in that room. About 20 minutes later, Sal calls me back and says, you can hear the emotion in his voice. He says, I can't believe you caught my cat. I said, what cat? He never told me anything about a cat. And at that point, he actually told me the story about how he had a cat that used to live with him in the apartment on the second floor. It was an old cat. It would no longer stay with him, so it would wander through the hallways and eventually went up to the third floor, so he'd feed it there. Then eventually, for some reason, it settled in Claire's room. And being in Claire's room is where he found it, passed away one day, and he buried it out on the property. But this all happened like 3 years before I got there, and I knew nothing about it. So for me to catch his cat was pretty exciting. And I'll play that video in here too.
And I had a cat for close to 13, 14 years. And when I had lived in the other house, I used to let the cat out at night, and the cat would come back during the day. But when I moved into the hotel, the cat refused to go out. And I couldn't get the cat to come into my apartment. For some reason, the cat wouldn't come into that room. And the minute I bring it into the room, she'd take right out the door. So I started feeding her outside in the hallway. And she would roam the building. Then after a while, she started going up to the third floor. And she would come down to the second floor, she would eat, and she'd go back up to the third floor. Then after a couple of months, she refused to come down off the third floor. And she would stay in Claire's room. And we picked up an EVP one night of Claire saying that it was her cat.
After starting the museum, it's getting more interested in actually going out and tracking down, interviewing people, looking for evidence in raw form. We became more and more popular, and especially since I did it more of a documentary style, actually going out there, my journalistic background, and interviewing people in that form. We got MTV, Travel Channel, NPR, PBS, a lot of attention, all the local stuff come through. So I'm going to put some of these videos in here. The PBS piece is a very nice piece. It's not too long. They were out here filming 5 days. I'd like you to see that. I think you'll enjoy that one. I've always had an interest in the paranormal. Everybody was okay with that. Everyone had a ghost story they heard from their mother or their grandmother or something. The Brown Mountain Lights, the Macon Light. North Carolina's full of legends and all these other things. Once we started talking about Bigfoot, then we crossed the crazy line. Now we're in the world of being abducted by aliens. Everyone's got ghost stories. Very, very few places have Bigfoot stories, let alone stuff happening right now. My name is Stephen Barcelo. I'm a commissioner in the town of Littleton, North Carolina, and we are at the Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum, which I run. Cryptozoology is a study of creatures not proven to science. Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, Mothman, things of that sort. I'm telling the stories of things that have been around here for well over 100 years, and people seem to be enjoying the heck out of it.
They saw a sighting of Bigfoot.
Tell us what you saw.
I know I saw Bigfoot.
Did it scare you?
Now, since I've been here, and I've only lived here 8 years, I've had 4 separate sightings on Moore Street. Bigfoot, we're not sure exactly what it is. Now, we have a lot of folks that come in here to feel they're interdimensional or they're tied to UFOs. Basically it's sort of like the alien's pet. Personally, I lean towards the fact that these things are flesh and blood. This is the closest we've got to what they're seeing in here. Now, these things they're seeing move in family pods. It's not just one creature. So you have some of the large, big prints that have got the splayed toes, and you can see some are just downright kind of odd looking, almost alien looking. As far as casting the prints, we actually sell the material in the museum. We have Bigfoot go bags, we have evidence kits, and then of course we give you information on places to go in the area so you can go out and do your own investigating. It's amazing how many people have come out and never done this. Once they get into it, they're hooked. They're done. And next, they're explaining to their wives why they're dropping, $800 for a flare scope and buying this equipment. When we go out, myself, Johnny, George, we take it very serious. We'll go camping, and we're not there to camp. We're there to investigate all night long. And we've caught some amazing stuff.
Just look at that. You just do kind of a general scan. There's no way you're going to miss a person or a creature out there. In here, it's up in here where I got that. They came up, I had the parabolic dish, and I could hear movement. And then with the scope, I could see some heat once in a while. And I figured it was a deer or something like that. And then all of a sudden I could see it was upright. It just looked too big. It was moving too smoothly in the dark with no headlamp. It's either a Bigfoot or a really big naked camper.
I guess the moral of the story is don't give up. There's a whole nother world just around the corner that we generally don't see. We're just telling the stories. Moved to a new building because we've outgrown the front of the house. So we have the building at 300 North Main now, which we'll invite everyone to come over after the festival. We're working on that. We're expanding. We have 3,700 square foot total. Now, part of that obviously is not going to be accessible to the public. We have a little office, a studio in the back, and things like that, and areas where we're going to have storage and make our T-shirts and things. But one of the things that we love, we had Frank's Gallery came over and they've done this gorgeous mural on the side of the building. So I want to thank them, and I want to thank everybody in town for coming down and help painting it. It was a great group effort. And we're still moving on. We're going to do additional murals on the building. We got more signage. The displays inside will forever grow. And we're going to keep on changing things, make sure things are fresh. But it's become a passion now to do these things and go out and do the traveling and just interview and research. And of course, I want to thank MetaZoo too. MetaZoo's been a big part of this from the beginning. Mike reached out to me very in the beginning, which is MetaZoo's a TCG, a trading card game, sort of like Pokemon, Magic sort of thing. And it was the middle of COVID, and I get this email I asked if I wanted to be part of this Kickstarter. And I'm going like, what are you people crazy in the middle of COVID? We're closed. So anyway, months later, I get this box in the mail, and all this stuff shows up. These Kickstarter boxes, booster boxes, cards, display, things like that. And I'm going, oh my God, what did I order on Amazon? I'm not even into this. I must have made a mistake. So looking through, the name rang a bell. I looked up on the internet, the emails, and I saw an email from them, so I called the person on there. And he basically explained to me this is, stuff's actually worth money now, it's investing. So basically going back and forth, and I eventually ended up getting in touch with Mike and talking to Mike. And so I've been there for the ride from the beginning, right from the Kickstarter. And it's grown, they've done huge. They're in Walmart, Target now. They've got all kinds of partners, PSA, Beckett, I mean, you name it. Steve Aoki's part of it. I mean, King Gary. It's just, these are people I never would have known if it wasn't for the fact that Mike brought me into this. But so definitely go to the MetaZoo booth while you're here, grab some product, go over and talk to the folks there. They're great people. It's an amazing game, and the artwork is just phenomenal. So I want to put a thank you to MetaZoo for being here and for what they've done to help the museum out. And we'll be partners for a long time. Another really good piece of evidence that we got here, it was in this campsite, actually right adjacent from it, was this paranormal specter we got. Actually looks like a Confederate soldier. We were in the campsite waiting to go out and do some Bigfooting, waiting for it to get a little bit darker so we could just use the equipment. And one of the guys in the campsite heard something and goes running down the hill. He actually claims he saw something briefly, but basically heard noise, so I go chasing after him to see what he's chasing. And thank God I had my thermal camera around my neck. And so I turn it on, and he's going, I hear it, but I can't see it. So I literally don't see anything myself, but I can hear movement. And I pick up the thermal camera. Behind one of the trees, I can see heat. Something's behind the tree. So I'm yelling at him, there's something behind that tree. And he's off to the left there, so he should be able to see it. And he says he can't see anything. And all of a sudden, on the thermal camera, not with my naked eye, I could see this thing move out from behind the tree and stands there. So I'm yelling down at him, it's right there, it's humanoid, it's bipedal. And he's going, I don't see it. And I'm yelling at him, likewise, I can't see it with my eye, only with a thermal camera. And I'm watching it, and it just slowly moves backwards, and it fades out, it's gone. So I'm like, what the heck did we just catch? So we go down there, we use lamps and stuff, it's getting dark now, we're looking for prints, some kind of evidence, nothing. The only prints we're finding are our prints. So I'm going to show that piece here. It's a crazy piece. We weren't even looking for paranormal activity, but that's a common thing. There's a lot of stories about people hearing noises, voices, chants in the woods, sometimes almost drums being tapped. Very eerie things. We've had equipment go crazy. As you've seen, some of the other guys got into like an area almost like a portal where all the equipment dies, and then they have the body cams and they've caught stuff there. Just a lot of weird stuff. We have actually seen orbs out in the woods. You see these things like the size of dinner plates that's moving in and around the trees. I mean, with your naked eye. So the place has got a lot of activity. It's not just Medoc Mountain. It's all around, up into Littleton too. But this place seems to be a hotbed. It seems to be ground zero for some reason. Maybe it's because of the collapsed volcano and the quartz and the crystals. I'm not really sure. But it's a great place to come check out. So don't forget to go to Medoc Mountain if you get a chance. We do have events there periodically too. So keep track and follow us for those. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Lakeland Theater, of course. I want to thank the Fitz Foundation for renovating the building here. Once again, Frank's Gallery, MetaZoo. I mean, it's a community that's come together so we could do events like this, and we're going to do more and more events, have more things happening in town. But I just want to thank everyone here. Please go around, support Littleton, support the museum, go check out the vendors, and of course hit the concessions. Everyone have a great time. Let's let the next keynote speaker speak.